Hey guys, Terry here. I wonder how many of you got a Brother ScanNCut for Christmas. If you have, then I'm making this video to inspire you to get it out of the box and start playing with it. So we'll start with some basics here, and then I'll kind of show you how to troubleshoot some different things that you're trying to do. Okay, so the machine comes with power cord and some tools. Yours may or may not have come with the markers, different colored markers, and markers for sewing. So it's got the ink that erases when you wash it, and then a variety pack of the different colors of markers. It's got of course, the blade that you should have loaded into your machine. I use mine typically on the 3 setting. That works for the cardstock that I use. So I keep it on 3. You put it in with the Brother logo facing out so you can see what your setting is. So that's in there. It snaps down in. If it doesn't go down easy, then you probably don't have the blade pushed all the way down. It should go in nice and easy. It comes with a spatula for getting items up off the paper after you've cut them. And then it also comes with a stylus. These items store right here behind the item here. This can lay down, or you can put them standing up in these little slots back here. Okay, I usually store mine with the stylus behind here, and then I usually have this in the bag with the markers, and then I just store it in here with the dust cover up. So that's the machine. Depending on which model you got, you might have gotten different mats. There is a medium tack mat, and then there's also a standard mat. I use the standard mat all the time, so that one has been working for me. They have a plastic protective cover. I always put that back on them. Helps keep the dust off of them and from anything else sticking to them. Your machine may or may not have come with the there's a scanning mat, so it's not sticky. It's got a plastic cover that is attached at the top of it. This is meant for items that are really intricate and you want to scan them and then have them saved in your as a pattern on your machine. So I rarely use this. It just happened to come with my machine. The other thing that may or may not have come with your machine is a green mat that has a sticker like this. And this is for, it's just a double-sided sticky sheet, and it will help fabric stick to the mat. So it just gives fabric that extra stickiness to stay on the mat so you can cut it. Some fabrics you need to add the fusible piece to it so that it makes the fabric a little bit stiffer and it'll cut through. But I'm mostly using mine for card making and scrapbooking. So that's just a little bit about the mats. I basically was interested in the Brother ScanNCut because I wanted to not buy the dies for different things that you can stamp, and then I wanted to be able to cut around it. So I'm going to show you how to do that today, and then some troubleshooting. So I recently was working on a project where I was using this. This is a Stampin' Up set called Party Pandas. And this panda was scanning really well, and this one, when I first did it, wasn't scanning very well. So I played with it and I learned some stuff. So we're gonna ink that up and scan it, and then show you kind of how to troubleshoot. Okay. Okay. So like I said, I want to encourage you to use your machine. You may have bought it for a variety of reasons. It's got built-in shapes, so you may be using it for the fonts or the shapes that are on it. But like I said, I'm using it to cut around stamped images. So I'm going to stamp my panda on my paper here. Just going to stamp him down. The ink I'm using is VersaFine pigment ink. I wouldn't use this if I was going to color it with Copics, but I do like how clear this ink is. But I've basically stamped it in black, and now I'm going to add it to my mat. And you could put it anywhere on the mat. My mat has stayed fairly sticky, but if your mat is losing its sticky, you can wash it off. If you wash it with soapy water, that will just get the paper fibers off, and then that will allow you to, for it to be sticky again. So just wash it with warm water and let it dry, and then that should help bring the stickiness back. So now I'm scoot my machine out here. I am going to hit the load button just to get it into my machine here. And then I'm going to hit scan. There's a couple of options on the scan menu. You can do a direct cut, or you can scan to cut data. So 9 times out of 10 I'm using the direct cut. I want to scan it, see what's on the mat, and then tell it what to cut around. Occasionally you will get fancier and save it as data, and then that way you can send it to your computer and kind of get rid of any lines you don't want it to cut. But for now we're just going to do the direct cut. Okay. You can save it to the machine, or you can save it to the software. I'm just going to save it to the machine. And then notice it's got it in color mode right now. Yours, when you get it out of the box, I don't know if it'll be black and white or color, but to change it, you just click on the little wrench there, and then you can toggle between the two. Okay, so this panda here is in black and white. So first I'm going to try it on black and white. Okay, so now I just hit the start button. Okay, did that fairly quickly, and now it's recognizing it. Okay, style this out here. Okay, so it recognized it fairly well. Let me zoom in. I'm going to hit OK. So notice what it selected there. Let me zoom in. If I hit the plus sign here, I can zoom in. I can arrow down and show you. So see what it did there? It didn't get the bear all the way around it. It seemed to just get the white part, his face and his belly and the balloon. Okay, so I'm going to hit X to go back, and I'm going to hit back again, and I'm going to start over. I'm going to tell it that I want to do this in color, and I want to show you the difference. So hit start again. Okay, I'm hitting OK, and right now it looks like it got it better. So I'm gonna just drag the shape here over to just the part that I want. I don't want the whole piece of paper. Hitting OK. And now it's got the outside of the bear. But let's say that it didn't get the outside of the bear. Okay, so if you notice on one of the, if you notice on this bear, the one thing I've noticed is, see there where his hand is? It's kind of just a white line. What I'm noticing when I do stamping is, if it's not a solid line, so for example, this balloon would probably scan very well because it's a solid line. But every once in a while you'll stamp something and there'll be a little gap. If it can't follow where that line is starting and ending, it's going to get confused. So remember the first time we scanned it, it was just his face and his belly. It was probably having trouble with some of these other edges. So what I've actually done before is, after I stamp it, and if it doesn't scan it well and see the whole outline, I'll take a black marker and kind of fill in those lines where it needs to be a solid line, and then I'll scan it again, and you'll be surprised how much better it scans. It just needs a solid line. So that's one tip, is to, finish those edges and make them be a solid line, and then try rescanning it. The other item that we did, if you remember, it was, I tried it in black and white first, and it didn't like it very well. So that's a tip, is to change it to color. Even though you stamped in black and you've got it on white paper, try it on the color setting. Okay. The other thing about the color setting is, notice that it has 5 colors. You can leave it on the color setting and say there's only 2 colors, i.e. black and white, and then preview it. And by changing that range of colors, you can kind of see what it's picking up and what it's not. And if you can't see on the screen, zoom in. You can zoom in 2 times, and it goes up to 400%, and then you can really see, what outline. So notice it didn't get the balloon string that's off here to the left, and that for me is okay. I didn't want to cut around that anyways. But if you did, let's go back and increase the colors. Let's go back to the 5 and hit preview and see if it recognizes that balloon string. But that's the part you're playing with on those colors. Looks like it still didn't get the string. But again, that might be because there wasn't a solid line. It kind of disconnects from the bear and has a little squiggly. So maybe if I drew that line to be more solid, then it would pick it up. So by playing with the colors and how many colors you've got on your image, that will help it recognize the shape better. So at this point, we've stamped it, we've scanned it. I'm going to hit OK, and then I'm going to tell it to cut the shape out. And the way you do that is, I could just, well, first I'm going to go in here and tell it what kind of edge I want to put, what kind of distance around the outside that I want to put. And I'm going to do 0.4 is a little distance. I think I did this as a 0.8. So let me try the 0.4 and then show you the difference. So we'll hit OK. And then it says, do you want to draw it or cut it? And we of course want to cut it. I haven't taken my mat out because remember I scanned it and this is where it is on my mat. So I want to keep that in there. So I'll say cut, and then notice the start stop button came on, and we'll just hit start. Okay, so now I'll take my mat out. And here's my mat. There's my paper. And then I can bend the mat a little bit, pop this guy off. Okay, so the first thing I notice is that It did treat the balloon as a separate shape. So this time it behaved a little bit differently than the first time that I did it. But you can see the distance between, this was the 0.4, and then this was the 0.04 and 0.08. So just depending on, I think this is perfectly fine. Notice how even it is all the way around the bear. And then this one is a 0.8. This 0.08 might be more like what a die would cut out. And you can go up to, I forget even what the setting is. So you can cut quite the distance around it. So I think by playing with the different colors and by filling in solid lines, I did draw a solid line over where his hand was in that balloon. So maybe that treated it as two different shapes, and that's why it cut it apart. But I just encourage you to get your machine out, try scanning around something, you know, get some old scrapbook paper out, stamp some stuff. You really can't mess anything up. I mean, if you've got an original that you don't want to mess up, then maybe copy it on your scanner or something so that you don't cut the original, but then put the copy on your mat and then try scanning it. And just do a direct cut, save it to the machine, maybe leave it on color. I do think I've had better success with the color. And then tell it to, you know, start scanning your image and then cut around your guy. So I just can't encourage you enough to get it out and play with it. I think the steps are pretty clear. Probably the most confusing part is knowing which menu option to pick. But usually when I go into it, I realize I picked the wrong thing. But that direct cut is usually what I use. So I hope this helps and gives you some ideas and some inspiration. Thanks, guys.